Hello, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. My name is Kyla, and today we are going to be doing the Finally Fall book tag. This is a tag that I've seen floating around booktube recently and previous years. I know Gabby Reed's did it this year. I've seen Elliot Brooks do it, Slanted Spines, and so you know what? I just figured it's fun. I love watching them. Tag videos, I feel like, need to make a comeback because they are so fun, especially with books, because it just gets you thinking outside the box. And today it's all about fall, and I couldn't be more excited. These questions are so cute and cozy, so let's just go ahead and dive in. I will have all of the questions linked below, as well as any books that I mentioned. The links are not sponsored, although they do help support this channel, so thank you so much if you do end up ordering from them. And let's go ahead and go with the first question, which is, in the fall, the air is crisp and clear. Name a book with a vivid setting. And I knew immediately what book I was going to pull for this, and it is Piranesi. This probably is not a surprise if you watched my wrap-up video, and if you haven't, I will link it in the cards. It is so good. In this book, we are following our main character, Piranesi, and Piranesi lives in a kind of a wacky house. Like, every twist and turn you take leads somewhere different, to a different kind of world almost, to a different kind of room, and they change all of the time. So it's almost like the house is a character itself. So it's very atmospheric. It's really amazing, the descriptions that are used for this house. It just is so vivid, and it really does like put you into the house and see, you know, every single twist and turn, and you can just feel how different it is. So this is for sure, like, hands down, had to be the answer to that question, because the atmosphere, the descriptions are so incredibly vivid, and this book has one of the most incredible plot twists that I have ever read, especially for being a fantasy. It is not a thriller, it is not a horror, it is a fantasy with the best plot twist ever. So I highly, highly, highly recommend this, and especially for the atmosphere. Question number 2 is, nature is beautiful, but also dying, which, like, ouch. That hits me in the heartstrings. Name a book that is beautifully written but also deals with a heavy topic like loss or grief. And I had to think about this one for a second, but the one book that kept coming to mind is not necessarily like heavy, but it does deal with a heavy topic, and that is Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune. This is a fantasy. Again, they're not all fantasies, I promise. This is a fantasy, and it does deal with the topic of death, but it also goes so much deeper than that, and it deals with like who we are as people right here, right now, and how we treat people, how we treat ourselves, the way we carry ourselves, while also touching on dealing with death and like what comes afterwards. And it is an incredible story. Also, the setting in this is just like chef's kiss. It's adorable, it's cute. I love this book so much. It will hit you in all of the feels. And while it does deal with death and it is a heavy topic, it does it in an incredibly beautiful way, and a way that you will still have fun with it. This book is also humorous as well, and like I said, just adorable, and there's a little bit of a romance. So I figured this was the perfect one to put on the list, because if you're not looking for something that's like super heavy but does deal with a topic, this is the perfect book. Okay, question number 3 is, fall is back to school season. Share a nonfiction book that taught you something new. And I will be honest, I have not read a nonfiction in quite some time. I used to read so much nonfiction and, you know, personal growth and that kind of thing, but I just got a little burnt out and I turned to podcasts instead. So This one was a little bit hard for me to answer, but I wanted to share my favorite like nonfiction book of all time because I don't see it talked about a lot, and it is something that still to this day has like a huge impact on my life, and that is The Year of Less by Kate Flanders. This book follows Kate through her year-long journey of a shopping ban, and for someone who suffered with like consumerism and a bit of a shopping addiction, this book spoke to me in ways that I just was not expecting. But it's also so much more than that. It also touches on obviously having to do with, you know, our things and looking at our things differently and what we have and, you know, trying to declutter that way. But it also followed her through her family story, a sobriety story, and through her trying to figure out like, was her career right for her? So while like shopping ban is like the overarching theme of the book, there's so much more woven into it, and like I said, this really just like spoke to me. And whenever I feel like I'm diving too much into the consumerism world, because even though I do try to practice minimalism as much as possible, I do still find myself like falling into those patterns sometimes. I always go back to this book. I am always rereading that. I have reread this book or listened to it because the audiobook is incredible. Listened to this book probably like 12 times now. Whenever I feel like I'm just getting too spendy and I want to like reel it back in, I listen to this book. It's really quick and fast-paced listen because it brings you like month to month, so it's just really easy that way. I love it. I could not recommend this book enough. If one, you want to be better about consumerism and what you bring into your home. If you are trying to, you know, dabble into the minimalism realm, or just like be conscious of what you own, or anything like that, you will love this book. Moving on to number 4, which is In Order to Keep You Warm, it's good to spend some time with the people we love. Name a fictional family, household, friend group that you'd like to be a part of. And I just only have one answer for this book. That's a lie. There are probably many choices I could have made. But in my heart and soul, I knew that it had to be House in the Cerulean Sea. I'm sorry, are you kidding? Absolutely. Sign me up to live in this household, in this world, and just feel the warmth and the love and the acceptance of everyone in this book, while also dealing with a little devil. Absolutely. Need me to be in this book immediately. I love this book. I love these characters. Linus is the cutest man ever. He is like Eeyore that comes to life, and I am here for it, while we're also dealing with like so many different characters and their journeys, dealing with acceptance and heartbreak and coming together for this one purpose of trying to stay together as a family. Like, there was no other answer. It had to be House in the Cerulean Sea. I need to be here, right now. Number 5, I love because it's not about a certain book, it's about an aesthetic. I love this. The colorful leaves are piling up on the ground. Show us a pile of fall-colored spines. So let's go ahead and make a stack. Okay, let's build a fall stack, shall we? The first one that's screaming to me is Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows 2 because of this orange and brown. So I feel like this definitely has to be on the stack. Then I'm kind of feeling like the It Girl with this gold. So I think we should pull that. Let's see here. I feel like we need like some purples, maybe some, definitely like black and orange, obviously. Maybe even some green in there. Okay, let's see. Let's go with, I feel like Practical Magic has a really cool, like, deep purpley blue spine with this like mustardy gold. So we'll kind of do that with, let's see, where do we want to go from here? We're gonna go with the Inheritance Games with this green spine. I feel like that fits in really well as, oh, let's see. Kind of feel like I need like a transitional color here. Ooh, I think Mexican Gothic has a really good like spine with this green and purple. So we'll do that. I'm gonna pull a Lesson in Vengeance because it has these amazing like purple flower on it. So that will tie in the purple from Mexican Gothic, but turn it into black spines, which then I feel like, I mean, does this not scream? It's only black on the side, but there is some orange and green there, so I feel like it works. I might be pulling at straws here. I feel like I need like a cream or something to help this kind of kick off here, which means I'm thinking, let's go with the Silent Patient because that's more like cream-like. I'm probably putting way too much thought into this, but this is just my perfectionism rearing its ugly head. There's not as much orange as I'd like, but to be honest, I don't really have a lot of orange spines. So I feel like this is gonna have to be my very fall stack. With the cream and orange turning into gold, turning into this like purpley situation, into the green with purples, and then into black. Which, like, I mean, that works, right? Okay, here's my fall stack. Question number 6 is, fall is the perfect time for some storytelling by the fireside. Absolutely. If there's s'mores, I'm there. Share a book wherein somebody is telling a story. And this one, I chose a little bit more of a serious book, but is incredible and beautifully written, and that is Notes on an Execution. I couldn't not recommend this book because the story we are getting told has so many different point of views and so many important point of views. In this book, we are following a serial killer who is on death row, and we get chapters of him counting down the hours until his execution. So we get his side of the story and what he's going through and feeling leading up to that. While in the interim, we also get chapters from his mother, a sister who was related to one of the women who was involved in one of his crimes, and then the detective who was putting together the pieces and ultimately ended up being part of his arrest and that kind of thing. So we each get these women point of views of how he has impacted their life and how his crimes has impacted their life, and it is so incredibly beautiful and thought-provoking, and I just feel like it is a read that everyone needs to experience. Look up trigger warnings first, of course, because there are things like sexual assault, abuse, and a few others in there that I definitely think that you should look up first before diving in. But if you do look them up and it is something that you want to read, it is incredibly done and it covers so many different important topics. And I just think it's incredible, and it was so well done, and I'm so happy I read it. So I definitely think that these stories are really impactful and definitely, like I said, thought-provoking, and will just get the wheels turning. Number 7. The nights are getting darker, share a dark, creepy read, which, like, what else do you want from this time of year? Absolutely. Now, I am not hugely into horror, I will admit. I'm a bit of a baby when it comes to scary things. So my dark and creepy reads might not be as extreme as you're looking for, but like, I'm dabbling, okay? I'm getting into it. I'm trying. But one that I definitely just think the creep factor meets, and it was just fun and a good time, was A Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. This was kind of my first like dabble into, I wouldn't call this horror, but like a spooky read, and I thought it was a good time. I definitely, I read this with the lights off, candles going, fire going. It was definitely an experience, and one that I think back to so often whenever I think of the perfect spooky read. I love this. It is about a woman who lived in this house when she was younger with her parents and abruptly moved, and her father wrote a book about his experiences in the house that went like hella famous and has impacted her life substantially. And she goes back to this house to try to see, like, was he right? Was the book completely, fabricated and fluff and made up or whatever, to try to see if there's any sort of truth to what he was saying or not. And in between of getting her perspective, we get chapters of his book, which I just think brought the creepy factor like up a notch. And there were so many good twists in this book, and you're not really sure who to trust. Can you trust? Because we're introduced to other characters along the way, and I just loved it. I thought it was a good time. It was spooky. However, if you're looking for a darker book, something that has more of a darker tone to it, I think that They Never Learn by Jane Fargo is an incredible book. I want to reread this year for sure, or like super soon, because I just loved it that much. This book, we are following our main character, Scarlett, I believe is her name. Oh, look at me go. Scarlett. And she is a professor at the college that she attended, and she's a bit of a vigilante. She goes after men who have done wrong and kills them, and a death takes place in the current time, and she kind of inserts herself into the investigation, and it goes on from there. This does cover a lot of dark topics as well, so I do suggest looking up trigger warnings and that kind of thing, but it is very dark. It is also very dark academia because it takes place on a college campus. The subject matter is extremely dark. We have this investigation that's going on, so the vibes are there, and it is dark and twisted, and one of the best twists and turns that I have read in a really long time, so highly recommend They Never Learn by Jane Fargo if you are looking for a dark read this season. Only a few questions left. Number 8 is The Days Are Getting Colder. Name a short, heartwarming read that could warm up somebody's cold and rainy day. And this was actually one of my more recent reads, but I think perfectly fits this question, and that is Every Heart a Doorway by Shauna McGuire. This book is less than 200 pages. It is a fantasy novella. It is cute. It is cozy. There's a mystery happening. It is everything that you want on a rainy day. This book is like a warm hug, but also a little bit creepy, a little bit gory. There was some things that I definitely was not expecting in this book, which I love. In this book, we are following a school for children who have bounced to other worlds and are back. So by that, I mean they have bounced to Wonderland, Narnia, Candyland, places like that. And we are following a student who has just arrived, who bounced to the underworld basically, and is bounced back and is trying to kind of navigate that and figure out how to live now in everyday life. And that's what this school is for the kids who have bounced and come back and trying to figure out how to cope. And so we're following her story, but we are also following a mystery that is ensuing within this school, and it takes some turns, and I just love it. We meet so many different characters, and the inclusion emotion in this book is like perfection. We have so much representation in this book, which is just incredible, and I just love it. It is part of a series, but like I said, this can be a standalone. If you are looking for something warm and cozy on a rainy day, this book is for sure for you. Number 9, fall. Luckily, it's my favorite season. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Returns every year. Name an old favorite you'd like to return to soon. So, I kind of already said that I wanted to reread They Never Learn. However, I did pick 2 other books for this because I do want to reread both of these extremely soon. I've been itching. It's there. The first one is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. This is probably my favorite book, like, I can't say of all time. Can I say of all time? I don't really know. It changes day to day. But this is definitely in like my top 3 favorite books of all time. I love this book. I read it last year, 2 years ago. Whatever. It still sticks with me every single day. I think about this book daily. I think about these characters. I think about Addie. I think about Henry. I love it so much. One of my friends actually just read this for the first time, and like I was like itching to hear her experience because I just like I just love it that much. And I was like, I wish I could go back and reread this for the first time and have that experience. So like I'm living through you right now. But I definitely want to come back and reread this very soon, maybe in December. It's so beautiful. It's so heartbreaking. Such an incredible story. The ending is perfection, and I just love it so much. Also, I would love to do a reread of the full Harry Potter series. I haven't read the full series, like, completely, fully, since, I don't know if I've ever sat down and read them like beginning to end actually, because I was reading them as a kid, like as they came out. And that's really how I read them. And then I just kind of turned to watching the movies because I love that experience. But the books hold something very special, and I want to have the experience of reading them beginning to end. So that is definitely something I would like to do soon. I'm thinking in the new year, although I've been itching to do it, so like I might start soon. I don't know. We'll have to see. The TBR is huge, so like how do you find the time? But definitely I would love to reread the entire series from beginning to end and just embrace it and engulf myself in it, and just, yeah, I cannot wait. And then the last question, number 10, is fall is the perfect time for cozy reading nights. Share your favorite cozy reading accessories. And this question is interesting. I don't really have a lot of reading accessories. I usually just use bookmarks from like Book of the Month, but I did just recently get a new journal. This one is from Archer and Olive, and I am going to be using this as a reading journal as well as a day-to-day journal. So I haven't completely turned it into a reading journal yet because I'm going to do that at the beginning of the year. But for the month of October and going through the next couple of months, I am just going to be keeping track of like my TBRs and any notes that I have, what I rated them, etc. In my previous journal, I did like a whole bookshelf situation in here and did that, so I will be doing that at the beginning of the year. But I do love a good reading journal, and these ones from Archer and Olive are just incredible. And I love this one. I got this one this year because it's got craft paper inside. Like, instead of stark white pages, it's got this brown craft paper, which I just think is so different and fun, and I could not resist this cover. This color is so nice. These just feel so good. They're hardcover. They're incredible. I love them. So reading journal for sure. But if we're talking like other things, I also just love a good cozy, like sit down reading video, which I plan to do very soon. I've been watching a ton of them recently, or like having them on in the background while I'm reading. That's just like some ambiance, people reading, just like doing their thing, and you can read along with them, you know, whatever you're reading, almost like reading sprints but in video form. So I think I might try my hand at filming one of them. If that's something you'd like to see, let me know below, because I definitely feel like I kind of want to create my own. So yeah, that is it for this tag. Like I said, I will leave all of the questions in the description box in case you want to do this or chat about it on your Instagram story or what have you. And again, all of the books will be listed below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Do not forget to subscribe while you are here. Turn on the bell so you never miss a video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!
With you and I, the future